And now the news. And this week, a weird looking RS3, Lucid employees get culled again, and a car with a bike seating position. Could this really work? Now before we get into it, I want to start with a little disclaimer. It's about 400 million degrees in the UK at the moment, and it is genuinely uncomfortable. Seriously, in South Africa, I have been through 50-degree heat, and that was less uncomfortable than 35 is here in the UK. Now, I've had to switch the fan off to record this, which means both me and the dogs are sweating like cornered nuns at the moment. But don't worry, because I've come up with a cunning solution. Now, I'll decide in editing whether I do this for the whole video or just as a quick bit over here. But I had Google make me into an anime. Now, the reason I've done this is because in a lot of anime, you don't see the mouths move to make the word. They just open and close over and over again. So you might see this for a bit longer than just this opening bit, or you might not, we'll see. Anyway, on with the news. Cupra, a brand that used to be Seat's performance division, is now selling the Formentor VZ5. What makes it special is that it's using the 2.5-litre 5-cylinder motor from the Audi RS3, and it's the only other car to do so. There are rumors of a Golf R that will use it in the near future too, but because those are just rumors, I'm not really going to look into it too much just yet. The car will push out 385 horsepower and 480 Nm of torque, meaning it's good for 0 to 100 km per hour in 4.2 seconds. For context, that's the same time as the original R8. I'm going to stand by what I said previously about normal cars getting too fast, but also say that this sounds amazing. Like most German or German-adjacent cars, it'll top out at 250 km an hour. It's also going to have an all-wheel drive system and unsurprisingly a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. The car is special though. It's limited to only 4,000 units, but also because it's going to be one of the last cars to use this motor. From next year, stricter EU emissions regulations are coming in, which are going to effectively kill this motor off as an option in the future. The car has a nice sporty look to it. Copper finishes on the tailpipes and the wheels complement the color really well, and with 5 colors available, I would imagine they've matched them up nicely to those colors too. The front is nice and aggressive. It sort of makes itself known as a hotter model, but without going too over the top with it. There aren't any pictures of the interior, although I would guess some copper accents on the existing interior and some sportier seats are going to be the order of the day. Unfortunately, this car is from an era where physical buttons were the enemy, which may drive people away from it, but who knows, maybe the limitedness of the car will make people think twice. The car starts from £65,000, which is nearly double the base Formentor. Absolute insanity. Nevertheless, it hasn't stopped them from making it available to order, which it now is. It may cut into RS3 sales a bit, as both cars are around the same price in the UK, but this does give a lot more space, sticking with the trend of SUVs replacing a lot of hatchbacks and sedans. Lucid, for those who don't know, is an EV company known for their high-end vehicles. They started around 2007 making batteries and electric motors, but in 2016 decided they were going to start building cars too. Fast forward 10 years and that dream turned into a nightmare. The cars were aimed at high-end buyers, which is already a niche market, and while they initially rode that wave of early EV adopters, the combo of EV grants falling away and quality problems with the vehicles themselves mean Lucid is struggling at the moment. And when I say struggling, I mean they've laid off 2,500 workers this year. That's out of a total of 9,000, which means more than a quarter of their staff have left since the beginning of the year. A lot of their top engineers have walked out as well, meaning the bleed is throughout the company. On top of that, they're expecting to lose $32 million to get rid of all these staff. But according to them, it should save them $158 million a year going forward. The company put out the usual buzzwords in their press release, things like path to profitability, positive cash flow, streamlining, optimizing, aligning. But honestly, will it work? It's the same generic statement from any company that announces job cuts. The difference is Lucid doesn't actually seem like they'll survive it. The cars are aimed at an expensive part of the market. A part of the market that isn't really taking off and that a lot of much bigger car makers have struggled to gain any sort of ground in. Another point is that the cars might be really good in some areas, but no one is spending $100,000 on a car, only to find that Apple CarPlay doesn't work properly and that the doors don't always close the way they should. For the same money, competitors are offering better quality even if the car isn't as good when everything's working. On top of that, the market pullback on EVs means it just makes less sense to buy expensive ones. And all of that compounds with the fact that Lucid just isn't big enough to take hits like this over the medium term. They do have some cheaper models coming in the future, but it may be too little too late, especially if they already have a reputation for bad quality. You need to prove that the vehicles are good once the initial early adopter wave has come and gone, something that few manufacturers get right. The big difference is that it's easier to get noticed these days, but that doesn't mean it's easier to survive. By 2030, I wonder if we'll still be using the name Lucid in the present tense or not. A new company called Sunrivati thinks that sitting in a car is overrated. They're developing a hypercar where you sit in it like you would sit on a motorbike. Now, this seems dumb because it is. But nevertheless, let's have a look. Firstly, there's no room for passengers in this vehicle. Even a lot of bikes allow you to take a second person on them. Secondly, their reason is that in that position you feel connected to the bike, so that should be the same for the car as well. Just because I stick a finger in a dog's mouth doesn't mean I'll get the same feeling as sticking it in a lion's mouth. Thirdly, this position looks like the car is meant for a different activity to driving. Just saying. Another point is imagine going along a bumpy road in this position. Bikers will know the discomfort, and it's a lot harder to pull over on the side of the road to make sure everything's still there. Otherwise, the next time you pull down your pants for your wife, her first words will be, "I told you that stupid car was a bad idea." Last point I want to make on this is, how uncomfortable does this look as a position? The benefit of a bike is, yes, you may be in this position for a while, but you can stop at the lights, you can pull over much easier, stand up, and stretch a little bit. Here, you are stuck in this position for the whole drive, and also imagine how ridiculous you would look getting out of the car from this position. Despite everything above, the company somehow has still managed to get a bunch of experienced people on board. People with backgrounds that include time at Bentley, Lotus, and McLaren. Even the McLaren P1's project lead has gotten involved here. It's nice that they're trying something different, but this looks like a torture device. Just because you can, doesn't mean you should. VW Group is doing everything it can to save money, including firing up to 50,000 people by 2030. They had their AGM this week, and one of the big things coming out of it was wanting to reduce the number of models. In their words, Volkswagen wants to make navigating the range of models and variants easier, and to focus even more closely on the expectations of customers in the regions. This should generate higher volumes per model, end quote. What they're saying is, they have too many models, it's confusing to customers, and the models are eating each other's sales. Part of their plan to do this is to reduce the number of platforms, and to align the factory production lines with the amount of cars required from each line. Very quick little opinion here before I go on to the big one, is that it might mean longer wait times if you want a less popular model, but it'll probably be good for the company long term. Now this statement and this plan are all good and well, but there are some things to consider. Firstly, it was obvious this would happen. When you add a new model, for each time a car needs 3 centimeters more wheelbase, and then build an SUV variant of it as well, of course you're going to have too many models. This has been a problem for years, and no one stopped to think, hey, maybe a T-Roc is a waste of time when customers could get 3 other models that do the exact same job. And that's assuming customers even want VWs at all. That kind of complexity in the model range probably drives customers away more than anything else. The second point is it's good to say, but VW Group launched over 30 new models last year, with 20 more coming this year. I understand that model development and release takes time, but did they really need 50 new model releases to figure this out? Slight detour, but relevant. BMW said that as they move toward electric, cars still need to feel and behave like BMWs. With the influx of many Chinese cars, with high enough quality and low enough price, established car makers need to fall back on heritage and reasons people buy them over other brands, in a way so that there's pride in owning a particular brand. VW Group and also VW themselves, by flooding the market with so many variants of the same vehicles, have lost that message of why you drive a VW. I would argue that rebranding probably hasn't helped, but you could say that for many manufacturers. The point is, VW are right in needing to simplify the lineup, but I also think in doing so, they need to change the psychology around owning a VW to make it more what it used to be again. to make people actually proud to own a VW and to strive to make their next car a VW. They're starting to do that with the Polo, so by having fewer models across all the VW group brands, they can drive that point home with other established models. The question is, will they do it properly? So I figured we'd do a new segment as well, which is more quickfire stories that wouldn't be turned into a full segment normally. Nissan has reportedly axed the Qashqai EV. It's become another victim of Nissan's ruthless cost-cutting plans. If the car does return though, it apparently won't be this decade. This makes me sad for a few reasons. I don't have a particular opinion on the Qashqai, but I understand its role within Nissan and within the environments it sold in. Firstly, it would have been made in the UK, so a lot of money that would have been coming into the country now isn't. The second thing that saddens me is that it would have sold like crazy, because Europeans just can't get enough of Qashqais. Lastly, Nissan now falls behind rivals without an offering in this segment, so that's not really helping their cash flow issues. Hyundai's become the latest car maker to kill estates. The i30 SW is the only one they currently sell, but it will likely be the last. Unsurprisingly, it's been done because estates are a shrinking market, with hatchbacks and SUVs eating their sales. SUVs especially are more profitable, so this is a pure business decision. BYD is aiming at the Ford Ranger with a PHEV pickup called the Shark. It's already on sale in some countries, but it'll make a UK debut at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, just to remind us it's not only supercars there. The Shark will undercut the Ranger and the Hilux on price, but has a worse load and towing capacity. It'll do 0 to 100 km an hour in 5.7 seconds, which in my opinion defeats the point of a workhorse. Also, it doesn't look very original. It really looks like a Ranger with a slightly different body, which is ironic given a Ranger is just a reskinned VW Amarok. Now, there is a new Citroën Berlingo that's an MPV instead of a van, and that is the end of the news.